Anytime you're ready.
Thank you. Good evening and welcome to the Planning Commission of the City of Moreno Valley. I now call this meeting to order on June 11, 2020 at 7:02 p.m. May we have the roll call, please?
Commissioner Brugueras?
Here.
Commissioner Stephan?
Present.
Commissioner Harris?
Here.
Commissioner DeJournette?
Here.
Commissioner Sims?
Here.
Vice Chairperson Baker?
Here.
Chairperson Corsick?
Present. The Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Commissioner DeJournette.
Everyone please stand. Place your hands over your heart. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States
of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated.
Okay, we are now going to move to the approval of the agenda. Would you please raise your hand for a motion and a second, please? Anyone want to move to approve the agenda as you were given?
I have a motion from Commissioner Sims.
And Commissioner Sims, a second?
And I have a second from Commissioner Harris.
Okay, great. Shall we call for the vote?
Sure thing. Commissioner Brugueras? I'm sorry, let me unmute him. Actually, I don't have the ability. One moment, Mr. Brugueras.
I have
you're
it.
Unmuted.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Stephan?
Yes.
Commissioner Harris?
Yes.
Commissioner DeJournette?
Yes.
Commissioner Sims?
Yes.
Vice Chairperson Baker?
Yes.
Chairperson Corsick?
Yes, and the vote is unanimous to approve the agenda. Motion carries. Next, we have a public comments procedure. During the public comment period for each item, as well as during the public comment period for items not on the agenda, each member of the public wishing to speak will have a maximum of 3 minutes to speak on any agenda item. If you do not wish to make public comments, please be aware that if you are attending this meeting through the Zoom platform, you will be displayed as a speaker. Those wishing to view the meeting without making comments can do so online via the city's website at www.moval.org/my3 live, LIVE, and a capital U. This link is available through the city's website, and you can also be viewed on YouTube Live and on channel MVTV3. The next item is public comments on any item not on the agenda. Are there any speakers at this time?
Yes, I do have one speaker, but I am going to ask that if you would like to make public comments at this time, to please raise your virtual hand by pressing the raise hand button in Zoom or by dialing star 9 on your telephone. Speakers will be unmuted one at a time. Looks like our first speaker that we have is Carrie Finn.
Yes, hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, hi, my name is Carrie Finn, and I'd like to make a non-agenda comment about the decision by the Planning Commission to approve the WLC revised DIR and map. Under the WLC agreements with the city, Highland Fairview is obligated to pay the city's legal bills. In fact, the developer must fully defend, indemnify, and hold the city harmless for all costs of defense. Yet a resident and several groups that appealed the May 28th Planning Commission's decision to approve the revised DIR and map had to pay a $750 fee to appeal the decision. Fees for city services are set in advance. But if the developer in fact reimburses the city for all costs of defense, Why charge a fee to your residents? Will those that filed the fee get their money back? And when will the developer reimburse the city so that the residents do get their money back? Thank you.
Thank you, Carrie. Are there any other speakers?
No, Madam Chair, I have no one else with their hand raised.
Okay, we're going to move on to the consent calendar. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the consent calendar. All items listed under the consent calendar are considered to be routine and non-controversial and may be enacted by one motion unless a member of the commission requests that an item be removed for separate action. Items withdrawn for report or discussion will be heard after the public hearing items. Questions of comment or comments from the public on a consent calendar matter are limited to 3 minutes per individual and must pertain to the subject under consideration. With this, we have item number 1, the minutes of May 28th, 2020. Do we have any public speakers for items on the consent calendar?
No, I do not have any with their hands raised.
Okay, so commissioners, could you please raise your hand? If you agree with the minutes without any corrections, could you please raise your hand for a motion and a second, please?
We have a motion from Commissioner Stefan and a second from Commissioner DeJournette.
Okay, can we have the roll call? Let's have the vote, please.
Commissioner Bruguera,
Yes.
Commissioner Stefan,
Yes.
Commissioner Harris,
Yes.
Commissioner DeJournette,
Yes.
Sims,
Yes.
Vice Chairperson Baker,
Yes.
Chairperson Corsick.
Yes, motion carries. Moving along, next we have non-public hearing items. We have no items for discussion, and then we'll move on to the public hearing items. The next item on the agenda is public hearing items. Item number 1, plot plan for PEN 19-0154. Could we please have the staff report?
Thank you, Chair Corsick. Associate Planner Jeff Bradshaw will present this item.
Good evening, Chair and members of the Planning Commission. I will wait just a moment for the slides to come on screen, and then I'll begin my report for you. Okay, I believe everything is displayed. Can everyone see the beginnings of a PowerPoint?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Again, appreciate your time this evening, Chair and members of the Planning Commission. The applicant, in this case, Western States Engineering, is representing the interests of Royal Excel Enterprises. And the owner applicant is presenting applications to you this evening for your consideration for the development of a plot plan for a retail center of 19,324 square feet. This center would include 2 retail buildings, and this is a change or a new project presented on a site that the Planning Commission reviewed in 2017, 2018. And in this case, there is no service station, there's no convenience store or car wash proposed in this new project. Next slide, please. The vacant property in question is a 2.45 acre parcel. It is located at the southwest corner of Moreno Beach Drive and John F. Kennedy Drive. It is, as you can see in this photo, undeveloped and surrounded by existing single-family homes to the south, apartments to the east, condominiums to the north, and the golf course maintenance yard to the west. Next slide, please. The project site is zoned commercial. That's a zoning district within the Moreno Valley Ranch specific plan. The development standards with the commercial district of this specific plan has its own development standards and also relies on our city municipal code for establishing land uses within the zone. The retail buildings proposed for this development are permitted uses, as well as the proposed tenants for these buildings, which include a market, 2 restaurants, and an office. All of these fall under the permitted uses, are considered permitted uses in this zone. Next slide, please. So this slide, the slide before you now should be the site plan. The proposed center, as I stated before, would include 2 buildings. The building A that they've indicated here on this exhibit is proposed for occupancy as a market. That is a building that's 13,524 square feet in size. The second building, a retail building, is 5,800 square feet in size. It has tenant spaces for three tenants, and what's proposed in this case are 2 restaurants and an office. The center design includes screen wall along the southern property line to provide screening and separation between the center and the existing homes to the south. Additionally, the project's been conditioned to provide enhanced landscape and a tree row along both the southern property line and all along the Via Sonata frontage. And just in way of background for the Planning Commission and for any residents listening to the staff report, in 2017, the applicant submitted applications to the city to develop this same site. Those applications included a conditional use permit and a plot plan, and at that time the proposal included a service station with a convenience store, retail building, and a drive-through car wash. That project was presented to the Planning Commission at a public hearing in April of 2018, and following public comment, the Planning Commission voted to deny that project, finding that the conditional uses were not compatible with the existing residences in close proximity to the site. That action was appealed to the council later that year, in September of 2018. During the hearing, the applicant withdrew his request to appeal that decision, which resulted in the Planning Commission's denial action being upheld. And so I provide that information just so that, to give the Commission, I guess, the information so they can see the differences between what was originally approved, presented rather, and what's being presented to the Planning Commission tonight. And this project is significantly different. No, there's no service station, there's no drive-through car wash. None of the uses in this case require the approval of a conditional use permit with special findings. These are all permitted uses within that zone. The new site layout does eliminate a driveway on Via Entrada, and that would limit the vehicular access to the site to the 2 driveways that you see, one off of Moreno Beach Drive and the other off of John F. Kennedy Drive. This is important because it means that there's no vehicular traffic entering this project from within the residential development to the south. So there's no vehicular access off of either Via Entrada or Via Sonata. The design of the project does allow for pedestrian access. The residents coming from that neighborhood could access the center off of a sidewalk connection off of Via Sonata, rather than having to walk around the entire project and enter at John F. Kennedy Drive. The project, following review by staff, has been designed and conditioned to be consistent with the general plan designation for this location, with specific goals and policies and objectives of the general plan. It's consistent with the Moreno Valley Ranch specific plan as well as the city's municipal code. Can we go to the next slide? And I'll pause for a second. I didn't give you a chance to see the elevation. So this rendering is this shows you a perspective of the two buildings in viewing the site from the corner of Moreno Beach and John F. Kennedy Drive. Next slide, please. These are renderings of the retail building, the three tenant retail building. Next slide, please. And these are the renderings of what would be what the applicant is proposing to occupy with a market. Next slide, please. And this information provides the color examples of the colors and materials proposed here for the center. So the applicant worked with staff through a number of iterations. We were able to establish, I think, a level of architecture here for the center it's certainly compatible with other centers in the ranch and very consistent with the design guidelines and criteria for commercial development within that specific plan. Next slide, please. So the project presented to you this evening qualifies as being categorically exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act. It satisfies each of the qualifying conditions for that exemption and a Class 32 infill development project exemption. Staff then recommends that the Planning Commission approve resolution number 2020-23, certifying that the project is categorically exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act and approving plot plan 1019-014 subject to the conditions of approval attached to that resolution. This concludes my report, and I'd be prepared to answer any questions that you might have about the project. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any commissioners' questions for staff? Raise your hand, I guess, on this one.
Yes, we have Commissioner Brugueras.
Jeff, thank you very much for mentioning where the exits and the entrance are, because that's very important for the residents that live around the project if it gets approved tonight. It's good that they don't go to the back end of the project because that's where majority of the homes are and the school up the street. So people have to come around to JFK or Moreno Beach to get in and to get out. And that's good. I'm glad that you and the developers worked that out because it's very important for the residents not to be bothered. I don't know, maybe after 10 o'clock at night, I don't know what the hours are going to be, but that's important that we don't have a lot of vehicles going around that part of the neighborhood. I'm grateful for that because I had to go back twice to look at it real well. My other one is on JFK, where the exit arrow, the right, that little arrow, right, that's the only thing they're going to be able to make to exit, a right only?
Yes, let's take Commissioner Burgess. There will be no median. There will be no improvements in the roadway to direct that traffic. But I believe that the project is conditioned for lane striping and other improvements of that type in the roadway to direct the traffic to the right.
Right. Because I read that you're going to put a stop sign on the corner. You're going to print a stop sign on the floor. What I was hoping to see, that if it's possible, sir, to put up a sign that said must make right turn. Must make right turn. So people don't make that left. So I'm hoping so people can get it clear that you must make a right only. Because there are drivers that will try to make that left on JFK and, once again, disturb traffic. So hopefully we can put up a sign that says must make right only. But otherwise than that, sir, it's a great project. I like the landscape. I like the materials that we're going to use on the project. So thank you so much.
Are there any other commissioner questions?
Commissioner Harris.
Yes, I was just wondering, the one home that is on the corner of the project that we were concerned about last time this came before us. That's where there's going to be an 8-foot wall right there. Is that correct?
Yes, Commissioner Harris, that is correct. So the common property line between the center and that house that shares whose side yard is right there, that is where a minimum 8-foot tall wall will be required. On the developer side, additionally, we'll ask for a tree row and some enhanced landscaping that can mature over time and provide an additional screen and separation. As you move westward across the site and come out of the front yard of that home, the wall will drop down to a minimum of 6 feet, and that will continue across the Via Sonata frontage till you get to the corner of Via Entrada, and the wall will turn at that point to screen the retail center's activities from the homeowners that live directly across the street.
Thank you.
And if I could, I'd like to correct the answer I gave to Commissioner Bergeros. I'm reviewing the conditions of approval, and if you look at condition 153 under the transportation conditions, there's two. Condition 151 identifies that the turning movements into the center off of JFK will be right in, right out only. And if you go on to condition 153, we are actually requiring a median improvement, raised concrete median on JFK along that frontage to control the turning movements that Commissioner Bergeros was asking about.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Commissioner Sims?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So I just a quick question on the it notes here in the staff report that the project's already part of the commercial zoning district regulations of Moreno Valley Ranch Specific Plan 193. Are there any limitations or you know, like the Stater Brothers and whatnot, and Starbucks is right down the street from this, but what, as far as the market, that's not a huge market. Is there any limitations on the type of market that can go in, you know, is there alcohol sales and all that at this store, like a convenience store would have, or the Easter market around over off of up around off of Redlands Boulevard?
Yes, so the way the specific plan is structured, it has its own zoning district, which is the commercial district. That district includes standards for setbacks, lot coverage, development standards for development, but it does not list uses. It defers to our municipal code for the list of permitted uses. When you look at the definition of a convenience store in the city's municipal code, it is any retail store that's 5,000 square feet or less in size. So in this case, by virtue of the size, it would no longer be considered a convenience store, and by category would not require a conditional use permit for beer and wine sales. So if as a market, if the owner operator was to decide to offer beer and wine sales like you would expect maybe in any grocery store, they would need to go through the state's process and secure a license from the state.
Okay, thank you.
Any other commissioners?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay, at this time, would the applicant like to speak?
Looks like we might have Craig Fry.
Okay.
I don't know if you can hear me. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. First of all, I'd like to thank the commission and the city staff for their help in getting us through this process. As Mr. Bradshaw stated earlier, we did come in about 2 years ago with the plan, and we learned a lot in that process. We learned to, number one, listen to the tenants of your community, our community, and the neighbors. What we did was we've had several meetings since our last time we've been in front of you with not only the neighbors, but with the elected officials, and we've had numerous meetings with your city officials. Based on those meetings, we did take into consideration everything that the community wanted in the design, the size of the buildings, the location of the buildings, and even the particular colors that they felt would be necessary. We were very aware of the neighborhoods and the impact on the neighborhood, so it was designed so we would have as little as possible. And one of the things that we heard was they really wanted to have a user-friendly facility where they could walk to the restaurants, walk to the market. And the type of market we're looking at is not going to be a convenience store. It's not going to be a 7-Eleven type of store, a Circle K. It's really going to be, we're looking at a Trader Joe, Whole Foods type of product. It will not be those. We're trying to model after that. We really want to bring some quality businesses into the neighbors because that was our promise to them. We're going to limit our hours so we don't impact them at night. The restaurants we are looking at what we heard was they wanted a type of a chain such as a Ruby's or a Chili's type of a restaurant. We're going to be very active and aggressive in trying to find a tenant that will come in and work with them. Again, we are very thankful for being here. The market, I just want to let you know, the owner, Mr. Assam Ali, made a promise to the community that he didn't want to serve beer and wine or have beer and wine there. And they were very thankful for that. And even it was sort of, we had an eye-opening saying, well, if it's controlled, we're okay with it. But again, that's not his purpose. His purpose is to provide a good quality market, somewhere where they can go get very good quality meats, fruits, and everything else that you would expect from such a neighborhood. Okay. I just got a text from the owner, and he says beer and wine off sale. The neighbors have actually asked for some of that. So, again, we're even looking at how we can be sort of a model for the new type of markets that are going to come in with this COVID-19. We're looking at ways that we can bring in technology to make sure that as somebody comes in, it's going to be sanitized properly. Every cart will be sanitized properly. The people have the opportunity to make sure that nothing is conducted. So not only will it bring quality, we believe it'll bring safety to them. So we're here to answer any type of questions and concerns you have. The way it was designed, just so you know, the 2 restaurants and the office was designed purposely to have that office there because that's going to be the owner, Mr. Ali's location, where he's going to run his business and his operations out of. He is not going to be a distant owner. He's going to be somebody that is going to put his roots in this community and see this project through and many other projects in your city through. So if you have any questions, we're open for any and all questions.
Thank you very much. Do the commissioners have any questions for the applicant?
I have Commissioner Dugenais.
Yes, I was curious what were the reduced hours for operation?
Well, we would, again, because we know that the neighbors are within a relatively close area, what we would do is we would limit it. We'd work with city staff. We would not want to be open later than 10 or 11 at night and not open any earlier than 8 or 9 in the morning. But whatever would work with the neighbors, we're willing to do that. With a regular market, you don't need to have a 24-hour market, and you don't need to be open at 5 in the morning, like a convenience store. So that's something we would work with the tenant, but again, we'd be very cognizant of what the neighbors would want.
Well, I was just thinking about all those properties that are to the south that face the north, looking directly into the project area. Just mainly, the lighting, so at 10 o'clock, there's lights on, shining down, and I would imagine there would be a lot of light pollution operating late at night.
Yes, sir. We have taken that into consideration in our design. We've hired a lighting expert, so it would not have as little impact as possible on the neighbors. Like Mr. Bradshaw said, we are using trees and other vegetation to try to minimize as much of that lighting as possible. But again, we want to have a safe area, so when somebody does come to the market, that they'll feel safe when they go in there and it won't be dark. But we are taking in the design and the location of lights to make sure that we're having as little, if any, impact on the neighbors as possible.
The other question I had, and speaking with safety, is that I'm sure, like most markets, there's going to be surveillance. This is the questions that I was asking last time. You got, with the neighbors and working with the neighbors, that's a great thing. Surveillance cameras pointing down the parking lot. I'm wondering how much spillage of that footage goes into the actual neighborhood, right into the,
Again, we're going to have 24-hour security there. But on dealing with the cameras, our goal is to have the cameras on our facility as much as possible. We'll work with local police and making sure that we set it up right. We do have a security expert on staff that will help us design that. But again, we're open to work with the community and the police to see what's best for them.
Okay, yeah, you see where I'm getting at is because this is one of the few projects that puts a commercial building directly across the street from single family homes. And you got a security camera, and I'm in my home, I walk out my front yard, I'm on camera. And so that would be something that I'd be concerned about. Not necessarily, I don't do anything wrong, but I don't want the camera looking at me. Maybe I want to walk out one day in my robe, but there I am.
So we're going to take that. We're going to take that into consideration. Again, the goal of the ownership is the center and having as little impact and being a good neighbor with them. So yeah, we will make sure that we take that into consideration, and hopefully within a short period of time, our vegetation will grow up that will give them any additional privacy that they feel they need.
Thank you.
Are there any more questions?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay, at this time, we're going to open public testimony. Do we have any public comments?
At this time, if you'd like to make public comments, please raise your virtual hand by pressing the raise hand button in Zoom or by dialing *9 on your telephone. Looks like I do have 2 public speakers.
Okay.
I have Carrie Finn, followed by Ray Talbot.
Hello? Yes, hello?
We can hear you.
Okay, great. I have a question about this development. Does it include electrical vehicle charging stations? As I did not see them mentioned in the agenda packet, considering the close proximity of this development to the golf course and that the use of golf carts will probably increase if the golf course ever opens, as well as our efforts to increase the general use of electric vehicles, I think adding electrical charging stations to this development would be beneficial to the residents and also help reduce emission of air pollutants in what is primarily a residential area. Thank you.
Thank you, Carrie. Next speaker.
Next speaker, we have Ray Talbot.
Am I on?
Yes, we can hear you, Ray.
Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, commissioners. I would like to, I live on, sorry about that. I live on La Casa Drive up a ways from that development, but I have friends and neighbors down in that area that have such great concerns. And I would like to thank the developer, Mr. Ali, the owner, Mr. Ali, and the developer folks he has working with him, and the staff of the Planning Commission, because it seems to me like they did an extremely good job of answering the issues and avoiding the problems that the prior plans had. And I would just like to congratulate them for the work. It looks to me very good. One question which I do have is the wall that will be along the sidewalk at Via Sonata on the south side of the complex. If one were walking down that street, walking on that sidewalk, would the wall be literally right at your right hand? Or is there a landscaping strip possibly between the sidewalk and the wall? I'm thinking in particular of the people who happen to live directly across the street. Facing a blank wall would be a little bit annoying, I think. So if there is any plan for that aspect of the landscaping, I'd appreciate hearing about it.
Okay, thank you very, very much. Would the applicant like to address any of the public comments or concerns at this time?
I do apologize, Craig. We will unmute you in just a moment.
How's that? Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let's take and again, thank you from the people who gave their comments. And I'd like to start with the first one regarding the electrical charging stations. That was brought up in one of our neighborhood meetings that we had with the residents, and we committed to putting those in. We're working with the city standard. We believe in them. We think it's the way to go. We want to be as eco-friendly as possible with it, whether it's solar, whatever it takes. But again, we're going to be following the city guidelines. I've got to be frank with you. I don't know if we're going to be putting in chargers for golf carts, but we are going to be putting them in for electric vehicles. And the reason I don't know what plug we would put in for a golf cart, to be honest with you. When we go through the transportation side of it and through building a safety, they do have the requirements. One of the things I wanted to bring up to you is we are even adding extra parking spaces than what is required. We're required to have 106, we're going to put 115, and we're going to be putting in some extra chargers, whatever we can do to help that work. In regards to the wall, again, we want to be very, very aggressive in making sure we have as little impact on the community as possible. We will put in whatever it takes to make it more friendly so doesn't look like a big blank wall there, whether it be trees, shrubs, whatever we can do to make that work. And again, I go back to city staff to see what they want us to do. And again, our commitment is to make it work, to be good neighbors and be neighbors for a long time.
Thank you. All right, with that, we're going to close the public hearing and we'll move on to deliberations. So now it's time for the commissioners to deliberate. Ashley, will you do a roll call on that, please?
Yes, ma'am. I'm going to start with Commissioner Bugueras.
Yes, ma'am. I want to say thank you to the staff and especially to the developer for working with the community and keeping your pledge, because that's very important that you kept your pledge to them. And in return, they'll shop, they'll look after your own place while they walking around. I mean, again, you're so close that you'll become family to one another eventually. And I do appreciate the owner having his own business there. Now we know what the office is going to be, his office. So we know that he's going to keep the property clean, safe. I mean, he's there. He can see what's going on, get to know the neighbors, the customers, watch his employees, and make sure everybody follows the virus rules and everything like that. So that's a wonderful thing for that part of the district, District 4, because that center is in the middle of all of Moreno Valley. It's like in the middle of Moreno Valley, and I believe it's going to do wonders for those that live nearby, don't have to go far to get milk, eggs, bread, whatever else they're going to be selling there. I also like the security that they're going to have there. So that's a plus. They're working with the lights. I like the exits so they don't bother the people on the corner. It's a great project. I love the materials. I truly am grateful for the owner for coming out and sharing his thoughts and his ideas with the community and working together, because that's the main thing. Because when I went back this afternoon to look at the project one more time, I looked at the fence around it, and I was glad not to see signs around the fence opposing it, like the last project. So that was a wonderful sign that I was able to see, and we didn't get any negative letters on this project. So that's a very good thing. So I'm very glad that you did the best for the community. Thank you so much.
Commissioner Stefan?
Yes, I like the center, and I think it'll be a model for maybe other ones to come in. They're really getting a lot. Like they say, they're getting the bang for their buck. It was a very well thought out plan. The residents took part in what was going to be put there, and the developer listened, because I just happened to be at the city council meeting when it was coming up on the appeal, and it wasn't a pretty sight. I was there, not as a planning commissioner, but he went back to the drawing board, retracted his appeal, and he came up with, I think, a very, very well thought out shopping center. And like I said, it's going to be a model for other ones to come in. I wish it was coming in on my side of town. I really do. This is great. And to get that kind of people in there that they're thinking of having come in, and then the charging stations, I mean, this is just something that is good. I just, it's an A++ in my book. I will be voting for this. That's all.
Commissioner Harris?
I just wondered, the owner, will they be taking care of the exterior landscaping around the project and inside the project? And, you know, because, you know, we have areas in the city that for 35 years, there has been, before we were a city, I guess when we were unincorporated Riverside, there's lots of places that are not landscaped. There's sidewalk and dirt, and you know, I'm just wondering if the if this developer is going to or this owner is going to be taking care of that.
Commissioner Corzette?
Yes.
This is Jeff Bradshaw. The answer to that is yes. So the entirety of the site will be the responsibility of the developer to maintain. Everything from the curb inward on all sides will be the responsibility of the owner, developer. And to the question about the Via Sonata frontage, the current design and conditions on the project are to set that wall back off the sidewalk to allow for a landscape planner. And so they'd be responsible for maintaining the landscape along that frontage as well.
I thank you.
Okay, I think it's a great project. I like the color palette. I think it's going to be an asset to that area.
Thank you.
Commissioner DeJournette?
I concur. I remember the first time we came across this particular area. It was rough. I agree with Ray Talbert. The developer went in and made some changes. He heard what we said about the gas station and convenience stores and stuff like that. This is fantastic. I just, you know, would want him to continue to work with, you know, those the neighbors that face north, and especially the neighbor that's right there on the corner, you know, as they go through security and lighting and stuff like that, and, you know, and just continue to seek their thoughts and inputs. So pretty good job.
Thank you.
Commissioner Sims?
So I guess I was on vacation or something when this project went through the first time, so missed all the excitement. So I apologize, or I kind of wish I would have been there to go through that process with you. So, but I do remember reading the minutes about that, and it looks like this is a retooled purpose for the project, and I hope the developer does well and can land a Trader Joe, which I think are generally somewhere in the 12,000 to 15,000 square feet. So that'd be awesome if you can pull that in there, or an equivalent type facility. I think that that whole part of the town is getting an uptick. We had the gas station up closer to where Kaiser We have the Kaiser thing, that expansion that was just approved. We get this project going on, and if we can get those higher end apartment complexes that were approved in the old driving range at the ranch, that would be really good. That would put more customers in this market and utilize the restaurant and so forth. So I applaud the developer for taking the time to work through the issues with the community, and it's the testimony is in the lack of opposition to it. So good job.
Thank you.
Vice Chairperson Baker.
It's a good project that it came along, and I hope that people support it in the area there that needs to be done. So I applaud the developer and owner to put this together. It was not easy, and we came out way ahead on the program, and I applaud you guys, and I just hope the community up there supports the market and the 2 restaurants. It's a big investment. Good job.
Madam Chair.
Well, it certainly is a different project than what was proposed several years ago, and it's not as contentious. I really like the fact that I think Jeff and you worked together and came up with a really nice architectural element that fits in with the rest of that part of the city. It looks really good. The businesses, I think, are exceptional. If you can, when you pull those in, it will really do a lot for the neighborhood. And I want to applaud you for listening to the people and not giving up and coming up with a very, very good plan. So I'm definitely going to vote for it. Are there any other commissioners that want to say anything else in deliberation right now that's new? If not, let's have a motion. Who would like to make the motion, raise your hand, and we'll also need a second. Anyone raise their hand?
I'll second it.
Yes, we had a motion.
I would make a motion to approve resolution number 2020-23.
Perfect.
I'll second Commissioner Sims.
Okay, let's call for the vote.
Commissioner Bruguera?
Yes.
Commissioner Stefan?
Yes.
Commissioner Harris?
Yes.
Commissioner DeJournette?
Yes.
Commissioner Sims?
Yes.
Vice Chairperson Baker?
Yes.
Chairperson Corsick?
Yes. The vote was unanimous. And could we please have a staff wrap up?
Yes, the action taken by the Planning Commission this evening is an appealable action. Any interested party would need to file an appeal within 15 days of the action. The appeal must be in writing and directed to the Community Development Director, stating the specific reasons for the appeal, along with the appropriate filing fee. If an appeal was to be received, it would be agendized for consideration before the City Council. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Item number 2, conditional use permit for PN 20-0012. Could we please have the staff report?
Yes, and we'll have Associate Planner Jeff Bradshaw back up to present this item. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Corsick and Commissioners. This item presented to you this evening is an amended conditional use permit. It's a request on the developer's part to add a second floor to one of the buildings within a previously approved mini storage facility. This is a facility that was approved originally by the City Council in August of 2018. Next slide, please. The project site is located near the southwest corner of Paris Boulevard and John F. Kennedy Drive. It is at the rear of the former CDS. There was a Dollar General there, an O'Reilly's Auto Parts, and an El Pollo Loco. So it was the vacant site behind each of those buildings. The original project approved by City Council in August 2018, the Marina Valley Storage Facility, is actually currently under construction at that location. Next slide, please. The zoning for this site is community commercial zone. Mini storage as a land use is allowed in this zoning district with the approval of a conditional use permit. The original project has already been approved. In this case, the developer is asking for the opportunity to amend that original approval and add a second floor to one of the buildings within that facility. Next slide, please. So on this slide, we're providing both the original site plan on the right hand and the site plan for the amended conditional use permit. As you can see, there's no changes at all to the site. The applicant is asking to add a second floor to Building G, which is located within the interior of the project, and all of that second floor addition will take place within the footprint of the original building. So there's no expansion or alteration to the site design itself. All of the new activity will take place on an added second floor. With the addition of that second floor to Building G, that would add a total of 134 new storage units to the facility. In terms of impacts to the site itself, there's no, by adding that number of units, there was no need to add any additional parking. Circulation remains the same, access remains the same. There were no new requirements from the city other than a review of the architectural design of that second floor. As you can see on this exhibit, Building G is located within the interior of the site. It is set back from the west property line by about 60 feet and from the south property line by about 70 feet. It is further separated from the homes to the west and the south by the other buildings that will be constructed along the perimeter of the site, buildings A, B, C, and D. If we could go to the next slide, please. These two slides show compare and contrast of the architecture. The slide, the picture rather, the elevations on the right are the original elevations for Building G, which was originally a single-story building. On the left, you see the proposed architecture for the second floor. And the developer took the time to work with staff to come up with a design that's compatible with the architecture that was already established within the center. We knew the second floor was going to be visible from off-site as well as to the homes immediately to the west and south. And so we looked at the architecture, especially the features that were prominent on the street frontage where the office is located, and they did add some tower features, some trim elements, awnings, and then where you see glass, that is actually spandrel glass. It's not vision glass, but we did want to work with them to break up the massing of those towers, and that's done with the spandrel glass elements that you see there. The design, we had an opportunity to work with the applicant to ensure that the compatibility with the architectural design to address any concerns that there might be with the aesthetics of adding that second floor. We worked with Lilburn Corporation, which was the environmental consultant that prepared the original environmental documentation for this project when it was approved in August of 2018. They prepared a memorandum. We worked with them to examine potential impacts under the categories of traffic and noise. We looked at both those, determined that there were no new impacts, and that in fact the project would be consistent with the findings of that original mitigated negative declaration. And so staff's recommendation this evening is that the Planning Commission recognize that no new environmental documentation is required for this project, that it actually is consistent with the findings of the original mitigated negative declaration for the project. Our recommendation then is approval of resolution number 2020-24, recognizing the project is consistent with the findings of the original mitigated negative declaration for this project certified by council in August of 2018, and then approving amended conditional use permit application 1020-0012, subject to the conditions of approval. This concludes my report, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have about the project.
Thank you very much, Jeff. Are there any commissioner questions for staff? Please raise your hand if you have a question.
Looks like we have no questions. We have no questions or hands.
Oh, we have no questions. Oh, okay. Wow. All right. At this time, would the applicant like to speak?
Yes. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, commissioners. I appreciate the time tonight, and thank you, Jeff, for going through this process with us over the last several months. I don't have a ton to say. Jeff's staff report summed it up. This is pretty straightforward. We've owned this property now for a couple years. We've got to know the market well. If any of you have spent much time in this area, you know, CVS went dark, and the area suffers a little bit from transients and crime, and our development, we feel, has made a really good impact in the area. We're not open for business yet. We're in construction, but we've been able to work with the neighboring businesses and kind of clean the area up. And we think once this product's finished, it's going to be a great addition for the area. But this second story, we're just requesting this. We've refined our understanding of the market and the needs of the residents and the businesses. And this second story gives us flexibility to offer a wider range of unit types that we think, you know, residents of the city can benefit from. I think it's worth noting that on the southern half of the site here where this building is, the homes to the west and the south, they sit at an elevation that's lower than the self-storage site that we have there. And with this building, it's actually it'll be fairly difficult to have a full vision of this second story. There's a perimeter wall, and then there will be buildings that border on the west and south side with tall walls, 12 and 15 feet. And so in that, it's not a major visual impact on the neighboring homes, I guess is what I'm getting at. We've talked with several of the neighbors there that are aware of what's going on, and we're not aware of any complaints. We've had in-person conversations with them, and we're not aware of any opposition. So that's my 2 cents. I appreciate you guys hearing us tonight, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
Thank you. Do any commissioners have questions of the applicant at this time? Raise your hand if you do.
Commissioner Brugueras? I apologize, Mr. Brugueras. You're not unmuted yet.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. To the developer, the windows, when the renter's up on the second floor, they're not going to be able to look out and look into anyone's homes at all.
No, sir. Those windows are strictly an architectural detail there, but they will not provide any visibility into the neighboring homes.
Thank you, sir.
Anyone else? If not, we will open public testimony. Do we have any public comments at this time?
At this time, if you would like to make public comments, please raise your virtual hand by pressing the raise hand button in Zoom or by dialing *9 on your telephone. At this time, it doesn't look like I have any hands that are raised.
Okay, then we'll move on.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Do the commissioners have any more questions of staff or the applicant before we move into deliberations? This is the time to ask the questions. Any hands raised?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay, at this time, we're going to move on to deliberations. Could we have the roll call to do the deliberations again?
Commissioner Brugueras?
Yes, I was able to go to the site, and I was able to get on site and talk to the developer and talk about the windows. That's why I asked them that question, to put it on the record that there will be privacy around the building. when people walk around it to use the units. They're not going to be able to look out into someone's backyard or front yard. And that's a plus. And there will be lighting throughout the side of the building. So there'll be some security lighting, in other words, so if anybody's walking around, they'll be able to see something. So I'm glad that the developer planned it now. He was able to come back to the commissioners and state his case that he wanted to put the second floor before he built it, because that was important. So it's good for the neighborhood. More people will be able to use the units. And I hope there'll always be local jobs. That's the most important thing, because it's in the middle of Paris and JFK. And it's true. When you go look at the corner, it's missing a lot of businesses. So hopefully the people that rent the unit will be able to do local shopping. I don't know, lunches, sodas, whatever it may be. Hopefully it'll work out for the community in that area. And I thank the developer for coming and doing the right thing. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Commissioner Stefan?
I don't see a problem with it if it's going to have the second story. Now's the time to do it, because once you build something, you got the roof, and then you've got to anybody that does a remodel knows that this is the time to put in anything that needs to be done. So I think he thought about it and brought it back, and I don't really see an issue with it. There's a lot of people that do need storage, and some of them different sizes. So, and where it's at seems to be a nice place. So I don't have a problem with it.
Commissioner Harris?
Yes, I thought it was a great project before, and I think adding a second story doesn't really affect the project that it already was. So I'm going to vote yes for it.
Commissioner DeJournette?
Same thing. I remember this one when it came around the last time, and it was a good project then. It's a good project now.
Commissioner Sims? Just a moment, Commissioner Sims. You're unmuted now.
Yeah, no real comments. It's a good project.
Vice Chairperson Baker?
Well, and I probably should ask this to the developer. Now, when this was approved originally, did it have a on-premise manager? And then the other thing, how do you get to the second floor of this building G?
Yes, the applicant can address that.
Okay.
Yes, sir. There's an on-site caretaker's unit. A manager will live on site.
Okay.
That's a second-story apartment above the office there that fronts JFK. And access to the second story of Building G will be via two different staircases at the north and south of the building, as well as two different elevators, one at the north and one at the south end of the building.
Thank you. And I think this is a great project for the area. I'm going to vote for it.
Madam Chair.
I have no issues with this, so I will vote for it also. So with that, could we please have a motion? Please raise your hand for the motion and second.
I have Commissioner Brugueras liking to make the motion.
I'll make the motion. Staff recommends that the Planning Commission approves resolution number 2020-24.
Great.
I'll
Thank
second
you.
that.
Okay, let's call for the vote.
Could I be more clear on the second, please? I apologize.
Ray Baker.
Ray Baker.
Thank you, sir. All right, Commissioner Brugueras?
Yes.
Commissioner Stefan?
Yes.
Commissioner Harris?
Yes.
Commissioner DeJournette?
Yes.
Commissioner Sims?
Yes.
Vice Chairperson Baker?
Yes.
Chairperson Porsick?
Yes. The vote is unanimous. May we have a staff wrap up, please?
Yes, the action taken by the planning commission this evening on this item is an appealable action. Any interested party that would like to file an appeal must do so within 15 days, and any appeal filed should be in writing, directed to the community development director, stating the specific reasons for the appeal, along with the appeal filing date. If any appeal is received, it would be agendized for a public hearing before the city council. Thank you.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is other commission business, and at this time we have no items. The next item on the agenda is staff comments. Do we have any staff comments at this time?
Just one quick item, Chair.
Sure.
Corsick, in keeping kind of with the new platform, we are making slight modifications to the public hearing comment, or excuse me, to the public comment procedure. So going forward, we'll have the instructions for public comments listed on the agenda, on the front page of the agenda. And that's it for me.
Okay, great. The next item on the agenda is the planning commissioner comments. Do we have any commissioners' comments this time?
Commissioner Bruguera, followed by Commissioner Sims.
I just want to wish everyone in June a happy Father's Day and be safe. Thank you.
I wanted to thank staff for the nice work on the environmental. That was the first item had the categorical exemption, and appreciate the little bit the effort to go to show the analysis to show the going through that. So much appreciated, and hopefully we can get past doing these Zoom meetings and actually come and have a party again and shake hands at the thing here, get past this COVID mess. So anyhow, everybody stay well.
Thank you. And if there are no more comments at this time, the meeting is adjourned at 8:08 p.m. Oh, who's that? I'm sorry.
Commissioner Harris.
I'm sorry. I wouldn't plan on the COVID virus going away anytime soon. It's going to be with us for a long time. So I just said that for Commissioner Sims.
It's a reality check.
Yeah. So, okay, that's all I had.
Yeah, I think we have to get used to the Zoom meetings. Okay, are we done?
Yes,
okay.
Chair.
At this time, the Planning Commission meeting is adjourned at 8:09 p.m. to our next regular meeting of June 25th, 2020. Good evening.